The Don Wilson story was one of my favorites because Don was the person who really planted the seed of the idea for OLLI here at URI. And the story goes something like this. I was sitting in my office in December of 2007, and I was doing some work and I got a phone call, so I answered it, and it was a guy named Don Wilson from the community. He said he went to the South Kingstown Senior Center and was active, and was really intrigued by lifelong learning programs that he had heard about, and was wondering if URI did any lifelong learning. And I said, no, we've considered doing that. We don't do that. It's something that we ought to consider doing, but we really don't have any track record at the university. So he was fairly understanding and said, well, I'll send you some material. And I thought, well, that's the last I'll hear from Don Wilson.
First time I approached him, he was somewhat skeptical, but then I called him several times afterwards, and I think we had a second meeting, and that's when the issue of there was the potential of grant money, and he responded very positively to it. And from there on in, it was I simply had to get out of the way.
So he said, I'll put you in touch with the Osher Foundation, which funds programs in lifelong learning, and they are interested in funding programs, including Rhode Island. So a few days later, I got a phone call from David Blazevich at the Bernard Osher Foundation. And I don't think I've ever gotten a phone call from a project officer at a foundation saying, we'd like to work with you. So that really caught my interest, and sure enough, they were interested in starting a Osher Lifelong Learning Institute in Rhode Island. We were one of the last states to have an OLLI program. And as they say, the rest was history.
What really encouraged me to make at least a small investment in the OLLI program 10 years ago was the importance of building a program aimed at seniors that would allow them to continue their interest in lifelong learning. Our university and many universities across the country profess a commitment to lifelong learning, but often don't do very much about it. And I also saw an opportunity for the interaction between our students, our traditional 18 to 22-year-old students, and seniors who wanted to continue to learn and maybe share their stories. When Phil Clark came to my office 10 years ago, we were probably in the most severe financial constraints in the university's 125-year history. And Phil came and pitched the idea of the OLLI, and I knew it was the right thing for the university to make an investment in, despite the difficulties.
I think that the key to the OLLI program at the very outset was it's a community of people. Lifelong learning is really the means to the end of creating community. And we discovered early on that that was really a key factor in getting people together. The other factor was the support of Collie Lightfoot, who at that time was the director of the National Osher Lifelong Learning Center at the University of Southern Maine, who came down from Maine and spent a day with us here, who really got the foundation of OLLI clear in our own minds, and who was really instrumental in helping us to decide what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it, and the different models of OLLI programs. The resources that Rhode Island has in terms of its artistic community and the historic dimensions and the natural environment and the kinds of organizations that older people might be interested in. Folding that together into the OLLI proposal, we discovered that Rhode Island is an incredibly rich community. We may be small, we may be geographically tiny, but we have a diversity and a breadth of programs that are really, really exciting. And that became, I think, the key to the foundation of the original proposal, is that we were able to demonstrate that Rhode Island was in a unique situation to really be very successful. And indeed, we got 4 years of funding initially before we applied for the endowment. So I want to also emphasize that we had 4 years of growth to meet the criteria for when we could apply for the endowment gift from the Osher Foundation.
I believe strongly in the fact that the University of Rhode Island needs to be a community of learners that not only involves our students, not only involves our faculty, but it involves the extended community both on and off campus. I also know that many of the members of the OLLI are former URI faculty and staff who have retired. And these are individuals with a wealth of knowledge and experience to share with each other, and maybe most importantly, with our students.